No, I asked if you barricaded it. Well, obviously we can't go on with the roundup. No! What's up, everyone? Tomorrow is the beginning of season 18 of Blaseball, which means I have to round up the last 3 seasons. It's time for the Blaseball Roundup. We begin with a public service announcement. Internet League Blaseball appears to be sinking, just not through the 3-dimensional reality that you might be familiar with. In the last roundup, we reported that Blaseball athletes were under attack from largely speculative creatures scientifically known as consumers. Well, season 15 of Blaseball began with the unwashed conspiracy theorists of Cyber, the Society of Internet Blaseball Research, presenting a working theory behind the attacks. Imagine this whiteboard as our reality. You and me can travel in 3 dimensions and perceive a 4th dimension of time. Cyber has deduced that our reality is slipping into a 5th dimension. And not only that, it's doing so unevenly. So while the people on this side of the reality might be fine, the people here might be slipping deeper into where consumers gather without even knowing it. Truly, this is the ILB's darkest... I can't put this back. Cut to the backup anchor with the backup feature.
Crabs. Bad?
Got it! You absolutely nailed that, kid. You're gonna be a star. So the question isn't why consumers are attacking some team franchises and not others. It's why some teams are traveling further into this 5th dimension than others, and it's down to a statistic known as E-density. Your team's E-density is made up of some physical objects like how many players you have and how many renovations you've bolted onto your stadium, but also some physical concepts like how many championships you've won and the size of the egos on your team. I've got a terrific chart here from Dealer Row of Cyber showing team E-density as play began in season 15. You'll see here that the Miami Dale, my team, also the team of Blaseball's ticker, who seems to have misinterpreted that anybody cares what it thinks. In holding hardly any wins and a large amount of buoyant shame, the Dale quickly defined themselves as the lightest team in the league. A marvelous achievement for a team with a boat for a logo. Whereas the heaviest team actually isn't on this chart. Here's another chart. This here is the Seattle Garages, who the instant play began in season 15 began plummeting downwards like a child trying to cross a river while holding a bowling ball. And that bowling ball was a player named Chorby Soul. Not to be confused with Chorby Soul, who was mentioned in the last roundup for hitting thousands of foul balls. Chorby Soul simply has a soul that's absolutely massive. I'll just show you another chart, this time from If Biff of Cyber, this one showing consumer attacks per player in just one season. Chorby got attacked a whopping 138 times. Ever since season 15, fans have been passing Chorby Soul around like a kind of hot potato, or perhaps a steaming hot bucket of chum. In the last 3 seasons, Chorby has been clandestinely passed from the Seattle Garages onto the New York Millennials, who tried to reform Chorby, which only succeeded at making them unstable. They then burst into flame during a solar eclipse, were resurrected to play for the Boston Flowers. The Boston Flowers then slipped them onto the Baltimore Crabs, only for them to burst into flame again during the first day of season 17. What an incredible career Chorby Soul has had. And I believe now on the line, we should have an interview with Chorby Soul. Welcome to the Blaseball Roundup. Can you hear us? Would you like to describe how the last few seasons have gone for you? No, cut it. Cut the feed. Great job, Alan. But season 15 wasn't only noticeable for discovering that our reality is collapsing towards the hunting ground of unknowable predators. It was also the first time the Miami Dale, underdog among underdogs, made it into the postseason. They were immediately battered out of the championship by the Hades Tigers, and the Moist Talkers would go on to win the actual championship for the 2nd time in a row, making them instantly unlikable. But more importantly, Dolly! Max Velocity Boat Race! As if in celebration of the Dale's outsized achievement, season 16 began with an outsized gift from ILB management as Blaseball entered the era of mass production. Teams throughout the ILB began receiving care packages containing bats, shoes, hats, gloves, jerseys, even rings and sunglasses. Now, to my mind, this raises exactly 4 questions, starting with, what does this mean for Blaseball? Where did these items come from? Why did we get them for free? And what were players batting with before? I personally would start, which one? Oh, like the bottom? Oh, neither? Oh, no, none of them. Oh, okay, easy peasy. What this means for Blaseball is that it just got a whole lot cooler. Blaseball athletes are now achieving never-before-seen performance levels. Some choice items unpackaged so far include Blood Hamburger of the Charleston Shoe Thieves gaining a slimy leg bat, Socks Maybe of the Chicago Firefighters unboxing metaphorical shoes, and Kaz Fiasco of the Hellmouth Sunbeams briefly wearing 2 performance-enhancing hats at once, a normal cap and a plant-based cap. Which is maybe the most interesting thing the Sunbeams have done since, This equipment had a fascinating interaction with a new kind of weather recently categorized by the ILB. Schools of salmon have been seen swimming upstream against the immaterial that's been flooding so many games, dragging backwards with them little eddies of time that have seen teams' equipment being restored to before it had suffered wear and tear, as well as occasionally rewinding innings so that some teams get to play them all over again, sometimes erasing runs in the process. The Hawaii Fridays were very quick to dub this a Grand Sam. Some teams equip their ballparks with salmon cannons to manipulate the flow of these fish, although as yet these cannons have only succeeded at yeeting opposing players elsewhere. It's a beautiful game, this. If only all such disappearances were quite so hilarious. In the last roundup, I reported that some Blaseball athletes had been going missing, and the ILB had nominated the dynamic duo of Uncle Plasma and Liquid Friend to investigate. But I think it's fair to say that this situation is now
unfortunate but still generally tolerable.
The biggest development in the case is that Liquid Friend's file now says they have been scrambled, which sounds counterproductive. Meanwhile, dozens and dozens more players have gone missing, and even more troubling, some of them have come back again, wandering into games and joining different teams as if nothing had happened, except now they seem different. I think I speak for a lot of Blaseball fans when I say that these two need to get their act together. The Season 16 finals, at least, arrived like a soothing ointment applied to Blaseball fans suffering the sting of loss. The finals saw the 2 most wholesome teams in the ILB, the Chicago Firefighters and the Dallas Stakes, duking it out, only for the Stakes to make it through the fire. I think I speak for a lot of Blaseball fans when I say, hey Stakes, well done. Finally, we arrive at Season 17, and in a first for the Blaseball Roundup, we're going to give it to you from the perspective of just one team. I'm talking about the Yellowstone Magic, who had a season for the history books. Magic fans had a good feeling going into Season 15. As any long-term Blaseball fan will tell you, this was a horrible mistake. The Magic were about to have a close encounter with whatever was behind these recent disappearances. On day 4 of Season 15, Wyatt Glover vanished. On day 33, they lost track of star batter and champion fouler Chorby Soul. In the mid-season, Magic fans boldly agreed to build a new secret base just off second base while having absolutely no idea what it did, and Kurt Kruller vanished into it and just never came out again. Then on day 82, Tiana Wheeler and Elizabeth Elliott were both attacked by consumers. Horrible! And unbelievably, it gets worse. During Season 16, Oscar Dolly and Tiana Wheeler were both disappeared. And during a deeply chaotic election season, Magic fans voted to remove Elizabeth Elliott from the roster. This means that the Magic limped into Season 17 with just 8 players, which was obviously heartbreaking for Magic fans, but it also wasn't strictly illegal. What happened next? Well, you could describe it as a kind of magic. I describe it as spooky as balls. Cycling through just 4 batters, fans described seeing batters for the Magic step up to the plate while the same batter was still on base. And despite having just a handful of players to field with, they didn't appear to lack any fielders. It appears that ILB-sanctioned games abhor a vacuum, and so somehow 8 great players became 14 great players, almost taking the Magic to the greatest record in ILB history, 72 wins to 27 losses. The Magic did not go on to win Season 17, but this story does have a happy ending after all, which is that the Miami Darling made it to the postseason again, baby! Look, I made them a special crown in my spare time. Alan, the Darling actually got to the semi-finals this time, only to be swept 3-0 by the LA Unlimited Tacos, who then went on to sweep the Hawaii Fridays 3-0 in the finals. So much to unpack here. First off, Darling! Second off, this season, Season 17, marked the 9th time the Philly Pies got to the postseason and failed to win the 3rd championship that would let them evolve. Also, Hawaii Fridays made it to the final for the first time. That's awesome. But most importantly, this shows that this anchor was correct to make fun of the Tacos in the last roundup for getting to the finals and getting swept. Because clearly, someone gave them the boost they needed to become champions. Season 17 then ended with a marvelous bit of ceremony, with star players York Silk and Nagomi McDaniel each receiving their 5th Most Valuable Player award, which saw them being granted legendary status, and they were moved into something called the Vault. So now, no harm can come to either of them because they're not gonna be playing anymore? But that sucks. Let's hear from the teams. After some confusion in the last Blaseball Roundup as to where Blaseball team the core mechanics are actually from, I believe the clarification has made it from the core mechanics computer to the committee's computer to our fax machine, and this should clear everything. What am I supposed to do with this? It looks like a dissertation ain't edible because the second edible hadn't done anything yet. We got an email from one Robin Cafferata who reads, "Please talk about Boston Flowers. They are my team. Thanks." No. This is from a viewer called Aqua. "Dear Anchor, I am a fan of the Boston Flowers. You said some rather hurtful things about us on Twitter and it made me very upset. Thank you for your time. Here's $10. That's more like it. Aqua, our team couldn't figure out how to get the $10 out of your email. It just seemed like a normal JPEG. Please send follow-up instructions. If the rest of you want to get in on the hurtful things I say on Twitter, give me a follow at Blazeround. This is a weird one. We here at the Redacted would like to thank you for not mentioning our team. Please continue to avoid discussing the Redacted or countermeasures may have to be taken." I know who this is from. San Francisco lovers, stop playing games. I've told you once before. Also, keep playing the game of Blaseball. Hawaii Fridays. I got your email with the subject line action item to schedule an interview with some of your players on the attached calendar, but the calendar just looked like this. It's not helpful when you do that. I didn't know what to do. I've actually got a message for the Kansas City Breath Mints, and that is, you lot all need to stop sending me emails with the subject line, the Breath Mints, and the body, the Breath Mints. It's not big, it's not clever, and our internet service provider actually charges us by email, so it is very expensive. But not as utterly bloody pointless as the Baltimore Crab sending in this script for Crab Movie, which I figured out halfway through is just Jerry Seinfeld's B Movie 2 with the word B, Control F replaced with the word crab. Here's a quote. "We're hitting a sunflower patch 6 miles from here tomorrow. What do you think, Buzzy Boy? Are you crab enough?" I can prove it too. At 13 points in this script, the word bin has been changed into the word crabben. This isn't just disappointing Crabs fans, it's pathetic. Although, after the Crabs' performance in the last couple of seasons, I'm sure Crabs fans are getting used to being embarrassed in public. Cool. All right, up next, we have a much more impressive letter from a more impressive team. A legal threat from the LA Unlimited Tacos. Can we bring the whole thing up on screen, actually? Thanks. Do pause the roundup if you want to read it all. I've got nothing to hide. Here's a summary. Quote, Due to your slanderous statement in the public broadcast entitled the Blaseball Roundup, wherein you likened my client to that of a wet burrito, you are now receiving this notice to cease and desist. Oh, and apparently Rat Mason of the Tacos included this picture. Amazing, really, that the Tacos have decided with their 8 brain cells that what would really be good for their brand is threatening the free press. Fortunately, while the Tacos are playing chess, I'm playing... I don't have time to play chess, because the moment their legal threat came in, I contacted the finest legal team in the ILB, that of the Mexico City Wild Wings, and I said that in return for acting as my defense, I'd give them positive coverage on the roundup. Joke's on them. The Wild Wings are one of my favorite teams in the ILB. Bert Gonzalez is my favorite pitcher. So, Tacos, stick this in your taquito and smoke it. I haven't read this yet. Let's bring this up on screen. It is the conclusion of the Wild Wings legal team that whereas the remarks of our client, the anchor, may be construed as slanderous out of context, they are defensible on the grounds that no reasonable person could have expected that his opinions would be taken seriously, having presented himself to be spineless, at times unmoored, and barely in control of his own broadcast. We would also like to express concern about a worrying legal precedent that would be set by allowing a person of such anti-gravitas as the anchor to be held responsible for actions.